I have absolutely no idea why Blizzard constantly pander to women and children. It's insane. They don't even play the game anymore. The game always targeted young adults, and it was good at that. So the Disneyification of WoW is just so abhorrent to me, but I guess it's Blizzard, right? They have to be seen as the best humans out there while they cube crawl and fridge raid.
World of Warcraft is one of the most tragic victims of the modern gaming industry that brutally mishandles legendary IPs and turns them into shadows of their former selves. It's a textbook example of you either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain. In its foundations, Warcraft established a certain look or aesthetic for itself that made it really stand out in a sea of other titles in the fantasy genre. Most notably, despite their clear influences from other games, the races of Warcraft had their own flair about them that you could only find in Warcraft or WoW. However, over the years, we have seen a devastating shift in tone, writing, and art direction that have turned WoW from this vast,
I feel so empowered watching this. As a brown guy, like I am, truly. Thank you, Blizzard.
Fantasy that did have a bit of whimsy here and there.
I really enjoy. Dude, remember when Night Elf used to be hot? That's crazy. I remember that. The only thing I can figure out is if she hotter now or as a panther.
To a full-on Disney-fied version of its former self. Today, I want to talk a bit about how WoW lost its uniquely Warcraft identity, focusing mainly on art and aesthetics, and just have a bit of an honest discussion on what exactly went wrong and why it matters in the context of a changing, out-of-touch industry that has
really loud,
many legendary franchises into an identity and aesthetic crisis. Before we get started, hi, my name is Angelica, and this is a video that I have been building up to for a while. It isn't a new discussion, but it's really important to me as somebody who grew up with Warcraft.
It's important to literally everyone in the world, because right now a certain group of people are trying to hijack every single good franchise in existence and destroy it for us normal people. So yeah, it's not only important for you, it's important for me and everyone else.
And I am probably
so thank you for your service.
Now, previously on this channel, we have had several in-depth discussion on the races of Warcraft and certain aesthetic and tone shifts that have fundamentally changed how they were even from Warcraft 3 to Vanilla WoW, or even some things that have straight up ruined everything that was unique about a particular race. It hits hardest with the Night Elves, as we have seen, where they went from these savage men and women who fought with a brutality that even the orcs couldn't believe to, please don't hurt my twee. You can check this video out if you want to hear about it in more detail, but for me this has sparked a wider discussion on where exactly WoW lost this brutal Warcraft essence and...
Pandaria. There you go. I answered you. I answered your question. It's still to me so crazy how Pandaria has tone shifted the game. It's absolutely wild. Like, you could see it from the very trailer. I think that's what people were most mad about. It's just the constant Disneyification of World of Warcraft, and it started with literal Kung Fu Panda.
How did we get to these Disney vibes? Honestly, you don't really have to do any in-depth analysis to see that there is a massive difference between even these images here, as if they come from totally different universes.
They completely lost the grittiness. By the way, higher fidelity doesn't mean you need to make the game look very safe and edgeless. Like, this was gritty. This was good. Look at his teeth, like, protruding like that. Look at his lips, his like, you know, his eyes, his face. Like, he's way more scrunched and, like, old and mad. Like, this is very, very relaxed orc, which I guess it's fine. But orcs should be looking pissed even when they're relaxed, because they never relax. They just mug-gore each other on a daily basis. But it's so unfortunate, man. Like, this is how it starts, truly.
Everyone looks so bubbly, kind. Even the rougher options for faces look so soft and clean. It's missing that bit of spice that we saw with older models. And this bubbly, well-rounded and smooth kind of look really goes for how the rest of the world looks as well. Some people suggest that this is just the natural way that it progressed with these newer models, but I would argue that it definitely could have taken a different way if they wanted it to. Just look at these
Yeah, because that's a cope argument weird people make. Like, that's not true. You could have taken this game in different art directions. Blizzard just chose this one because it aligns with their new propaganda.
Used human models and how much they resemble their Warcraft 3 selves. There was already a shift in tone from the start of vanilla World of Warcraft, but at that point it wasn't anything too egregious, even though it would have been nice to see them explore this particular look for humans. A more intimidating, sharper look, and something that made them stand out from humans in other fantasy games. Warcraft 3 was a defining game for the overall look that made WoW so great. They established a very interesting balance between the masculine and the feminine that worked in harmony to amplify one another. By this, I mean it tapped into the side of fantasy that is effortlessly,
that was such a good
universally
cinematic.
appealing.
My God.
Strong, believable characters, flawed, but each with their own personalities and their own motivations when it comes to the greater fight for the good of their own race or whatever cause they support. A very mature approach that gave a lot of room for growth and a future for Warcraft. It reminds me of how The Lord of the Rings, particularly the movies, are so appealing to literally everyone. They never needed to overcompensate in a way that a lot of modern games and fantasy in general tends to do nowadays. For example, did you know that in total, if you take all of the main female characters and put their screen time together, you don't even get a full hour?
Base. No, I'm just joking. I mean, you don't need to. It's a living proof of why you don't need to push a certain diversity or a certain quota. It actually elevates and give much more power to these performances because everyone remember Rowan. Like, everyone remember that. And it's so good because you don't need to obfuscate by having quantity over quality. All of these three characters are amazing. I think we were all scared shitless whenever Galadriel turned like dark mode, right? I don't really know how to call it. Whenever she went like fully pissed, like everyone got jump scared from that because she was that powerful as a character. It was so amazing. You really don't need to push it. You really don't.
And despite this, The Lord of the Rings has a massive female fan base. Then we can look at the Rings of Power and how they massacred Galadriel's character.
What is she doing?
To where she's no longer a strong, wise elf, but an insufferable girl boss who behaves like those main characters from the Disney shows. Everything feels over-exaggerated, overplayed, and unnatural. Warcraft had a place for everybody, not because they had to fit someone in.
The problem is that everyone's trying to be Game of Thrones without having, like, the writing of Game of Thrones. The books, not, obviously, the god-awful series that turned really, really sour as it progressed. But yeah, it's not going to work. There is a way to write a really cool and good female character. It's just that these type of people don't know how to do it. In their mind, it's like strong female character means I can kill everyone with a light tap of my sword. And that doesn't make any sense. Like, characters should have disadvantages, they should have advantages, and female characters, while being physically weaker, should utilize their brain and tactics rather than, like, brutal raw strength. It doesn't work this way. Unless, again, you have the one example of George R.R. Martin in Game of Thrones, how do you call her? It's a really great character. Like, the really big one. I forgot her name for some reason. It just, it slipped my mind for some reason. Like, this was a very good character, but there was lore behind it. It was explained. It was a unique character. So, she really, really stood out. Brienne of Tarth. Like, she's so good. Galadriel. Yes, true.
To meet a quota, but because the world naturally formed in this way. In the RTS, for example, the Night Elves, despite being such a wild and brutal race, are actually a matriarchal society, and little things like even the in-game callouts are done with a female voice, as opposed to the other races that have male voice callouts. Modern WoW has a lot of flaws when it comes to writing, but particularly female characters feel so forced, unnatural, and like their motivation doesn't come from a genuine place, but instead it's all just sort of performative. Sylvanas went...
Their motivation came from daddy issues. That's their motivation, because the person who wrote them is 100% self-inserting. And that's a really huge problem. Whenever you have writers that never experienced any adversities in their lives, and they live their entire lives behind gated communities, you have a problem on your hand, because they have no life experience, they have no outlook on life that is remotely close to reality. And that's why every single major character in World of Warcraft is erratic, neurotic, and doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Like, the decision of Sylvanas to burn the tree was questionable at best, but if you went with that route, okay, just go full blaze, gung-ho up in this bitch, like, completely annihilate everyone. Don't regret it later and say that you're not the jailer pawn. You were, and you are. That is the dumbest writing I've ever seen, trying to pull off some sort of a, I don't know, Deus Ex Machina, redemption arc type crap. It's not going to fly. People aren't that stupid.
From the tragic survivor of the Lich King, the powerful Banshee Queen that unified the Forsaken, to a cartoony villain. The rest of the writing across the world, coupled with the cadence with which female characters speak, is just, it's Disney.
Is that?
Odin's Wall? Yes.
Then the stories and legends I read as a child were true.
Talk about
This
friendship.
is an infamous example. The way that it looks like a poorly made machinima from the early days, and to be fair, even those looked better.
Dinath fought to save all of Azeroth. He sold us out, so the Alliance and Horde could
Why are they spinning?
curse Algar.
What is that? Oh yeah, I remember
Never
this.
understand. For Erethdor!
But it's that overplayed style of narration that is used to tell you about history that is somehow relevant to the plot. The shades that she's wearing are also kind of throwing me off. We get two supposedly
Yeah,
strong
she has
female
those
characters
millennial
here,
shades.
but their dialogue is so poorly written, and it's delivered in such a strange way that I can't help but just cringe at it. There was talk about this sort of thing happening a lot, not just in WoW, but in other games in general, in an attempt to make games more appealing to women. This is the industry.
By the way, this is completely false because it's not more appealing to women. I mean, I'm not saying shit if she's false. I'm saying that Blizzard operating in a very wrong way, because this is not appealing to women. I know, because I take pride in having 4% female viewership, and they told me, that ain't it, chief. And if there's a female watching this right now, make sure to let me know. Is this empowering to you? Is this good? I actually think it causes the complete opposite effect. It just makes it obnoxious. I don't know. It opens anyone for ridicule. It's just so ridiculous. Like, what in God's name is that? And I'm not even going to talk about the horrible animation. I just think they ran out of money.
idea of what is supposed to be appealing to women.
It's the overall design.
A corporate-brained group of people that never really had interest in video games to begin with came up with this. An out-of-touch entity that has all of the power, but none of the creativity to bring Warcraft back to its former glory. Why is it that in order to appeal to female gamers, we need to infantilize the dialogue and the writing to Disney levels? Things like this are straight up insulting to everybody's intelligence. I
Exactly.
wonder how it passed quality checks. Is there nobody there that listens back to this and says, hey, maybe
What quality checks? Bro, they literally released a raid with a known command bug that was known in PTR. In PTR, people have told Blizzard, brother, there's a literal command prompt popping up on my screen when I'm raiding and doing a certain boss. I think it was Lua, something like that. And like, people literally told Blizzard, there's this bug inside of the game. Blizzard looked at that, went like, damn, that's kind of crazy. And they shipped the game to live anyway. They didn't care. There is no quality assurance, not in terms of story and not in terms of like physical, tangible gameplay. The game is just completely cooked. It's finished. Done.
this is a little bit silly. This is a little side note that goes beyond World of Warcraft and shows you just how much the industry does not take female characters or female gamers seriously, and how much they misunderstand us. A recent example is God of War Laufey, which is such an unfortunate thing for me because a game along the lines of Heavenly Sword or a God of War game with a female protagonist does sound like it's something that would appeal to me, like I would be the target audience for that kind of game. But when I watched the showcase and heard little bits of her dialogue and what she was saying,
So
I
crazy.
felt confused.
Of course, wait for it. This is the cube scene.
I think they're gone.
Just be careful.
Yeah.
Where are we anyway?
So,
Life of the gods?
I just want you guys to realize something. I actually know this actress. She's phenomenal and such a great person. I'm a huge D&D fan, and she plays a lot of D&D, so I ended up watching a lot of her interviews. They actually done her dirty. They uglified her character on purpose, which is crazy. Because if you look pictures of her in comparison to her character model, they don't even look the same. It's insane how they uglified her on purpose. And that's what they're constantly trying to do. They're trying to uglify women, and they try to demasculinize men, or emasculate, however you want to say that. That's their motto. That's how they do it, because they want to keep us weak and with an idea of what manliness and feminism like truly is. Like, this is disgusting. I can't believe they would actually do this. This goes against anything that we wanted as a community, both men and women. It's so stupid. Like, my god, this is constantly being manufactured by the same group of people, by the way, and we should never let these people do it again. And by the way, if you want the living proof of why everyone is hating it, because I'll say it in a better way. People hated on this game not because there's a female leading character, because they hijacked another franchise that was beloved by all. If you wanted to make Laufey a standalone game, everyone would have been fine with it. Just call it Laufey. But don't hijack the God of War name and sully it. That's what we hate. That's what people were mad about. Because if this was a standalone game, everyone would have scoffed at it and went like, yeah, okay, whatever, and no one would have purchased it. But since it's a God of War game, it made so much noise.
I call it the everyone. So, what's the plan, boss?
Yeah, if they put Kratos in Tomb Raider, people would also be pissed.
Why does she
exactly.
have to be so quirky, and why?
Yeah, exactly. If you swap Lara Croft with a dude, I'ma be mad. Like, I'ma be mad because I love Lara Croft. Tomb Raider games are great. I play them. So yeah, except for the last one. I didn't play the last one for some reason. But until that point, I have played them. And if they replace Lara Croft with, like, a dude, I'ma be pissed. You're 100% right.
Be so afraid of or embarrassed by a true fantasy setting where people speak and act like they would in a serious, mature fantasy setting? Why is there a gelatinous cube named Frank? Where in Greek mythology did we have something like this? The creation of these cartoony girl bosses or quirk chunguses show that they don't really understand what made other fantasy titles so popular with female gamers. Look at things like Skyrim or even Elden Ring as like a really small example. They are games that are just completely themselves. Every character fits naturally into their setting. There is no unnecessary comic relief to make female characters more relatable or less awkward, and there's no Disney-style over-narration of events to make sure that girls...
What? She looks exactly the same minus makeup? Bro, what are you on about? Okay, let's go back and I'll actually show you real quick.
Titles so popular.
Wait, let's wait for the part she's looking at the screen. Wait, there we go. Do you think this looks exactly the same as the character? Sorry, as a person? Look how many wrinkles she got. That's not minus makeup. They intentionally oldify and change her complete facial structure. I can't explain it to you. Just go watch like 2 photos side to side. She's not even similar. That's crazy. I even barely recognize her, and I know the actress. I don't know what you're on about. This is not no makeup. Like, clearly she has makeup here. It just, they intentionally uglified her.
Or quirk chunguses themselves. Every character fits naturally into their setting. There is no unnecessary comic relief to make female characters more relatable or less awkward, and there's no Disney-style over-narration of events to make sure that girls will understand what's going on. Those games are just good, and that is why everybody likes them. You don't have to overcompensate at every turn with cute and whimsical characters to get girls to play your game. I'm gonna say something, and it's that performative male feminism has majorly contributed to the industry's skewed and out-of-touch view of female gamers. When this sort of thing receives any bit of criticism, you'll have the white knights come out and say, oh, weak men, fragile masculinity, you hate women if you don't like this sort of thing. Okay, if you take actual incels out of the equation, which nobody really takes them seriously, the truth is that a female protagonist isn't the problem. If that were the case, so many massive franchises wouldn't have even been half as successful as they are. The problem is with modern developers that will take a legendary, well-established IP and use it as leverage to sell their own games with mediocre writing. Let's be honest,
there we go.
Nobody would buy this.
Because they know they cannot sell a standalone game. They have to hijack a very expensive and well-established title to make ends meet. And you know what's funny? They don't even do that. The entire company just crumble. Look at Ubisoft. Have they released anything good in the past decade? Literally nothing. They had to resort to re-releasing a game that is already well loved and received by the community, Black Flag, to actually survive. It's so pathetic.
If it didn't have the World of Warcraft label on it. We should not be focusing on the extremes that deflect from valid criticisms and concerns when it comes to things like this. Nobody who's normal has any real problem with a female game protagonist, but we also shouldn't reward mediocrity just because the protagonist is a woman. Performative male feminism has been incredibly damaging to so many studios, including Blizzard, who did have a lot of skeletons in the closet of their own in real life. But they thought that it would be reasonable to turn women into fruit as compensation. I've asked this before, and I will ask this again. What message does this send about women's bodies, especially in a mature fantasy setting? It's hardly a children's game, if we're honest. I mean, most of the people that are playing World of Warcraft, at the least, would be in their mid-20s, but I'd say the average is like...
The balding man. You can say it. I'll allow it. I'm not taking off my toupee, but I'll allow you to say that. This wig costed me a fortune.
30s, 40s, and above. And this is just part of the overall problem, but going back to modern or retail WoW, when the harmonious masculine and feminine elements of the game were neglected, toned down, and stripped back for a more family-friendly version of the game or something that would appeal to more people, it resulted in a kind of a theme park look or feel for the game. You tried to make something that appeals to everybody, it then appeals to nobody. There is the added issue of too many things going on at once. There are too many races, there are too many flashy mounts and toys, too many shop items.
It's not that there are too many races, it's too similar races. Like, many of these races should have been just offshoots of each other, of already existing one. Like, you have Orc and you have, like, Magthal Orc. Okay, you can just combine them. You have Tauren and you have, like, High Mountain Tauren. Okay, just combine those. Like, you have race inflation. You can just make them an offshoot of a currently existing one. You don't have to go on a limb and just, make it a new thing. Like, you don't have to do that. Okay, so you have Orc and Orc with tattoos. Cool. Like, it's so weird. Like, it's just so weird.
Many races, there are too many flashy mounts and toys, too many shop items, and it all creates visual noise. This is the backdrop, but in the foreground, the way that the characters are animated, how they move, how they run, cast spells, etc., is so overdone, and for me it plays like some cartoon or something that isn't really that serious. I think it's important to note
look at the
just
butterflies.
how impactful this change is. We went from these more grounded and down-to-earth animations to the more over-the-top variety that, perhaps because of what I'm used to, feels very unnatural and frantic. Recently, WoWcrendor did a video about why WoW isn't immersive anymore.
Oh, we watched that.
Just on
Great
that
video.
Conversation, a lot of these new locations with the latest expansions, for me, are a little hard to appreciate with just how much is going on. It's not that these places aren't beautiful. There is a certain charm there, but I think that World of Warcraft is a game that greatly benefits from minimalism where possible in terms of world design. It is so much easier to get immersed in a simple, dark forest where the environment is made up of limited but effective components that get across how you're supposed to feel about this place and what it represents, as opposed to these massive, overblown, overly detailed locations where your eyes kind of...
They're not overly detailed. There's nothing good about these zones. I've played Midnight. I've played that zone. It's absolutely abhorrent. It's garbage. It's copy-paste fiesta. This zone isn't special. It was crafted... I won't even be surprised if I hear this zone was crafted by a single person in a span of a week. It's all copy-paste. It's just copy-paste. This entire zone was meant to be flown over. It wasn't supposed to be grounded. You can traverse here on foot. It will literally take you ages to reach from point A to B. And that's the entire plan, because Blizzard couldn't care less about designing a great world anymore. They don't want to hide secrets, they don't want to do anything. They just want to create something quick so they can grab your money and disappear.
Don't know what to focus on in order to properly appreciate the setting. It's kind of a shame for the better designed parts of the game also, because this just completely clashes with it and takes away from any good art that's created in modern World of Warcraft. Just completely overshadowed by silliness and a general lack of direction. I think that the true Disneyification started with Draenor when they had the catastrophic change in character models that all but wiped the core identities of many of the races of Azeroth, but as time went on, I think that the Disney element was melded together with a Fortnite element. Fortnite was a massive and game-changing influence all across the industry, especially with their specific approach to monetization. What started out with a simple skin shop and then turned into the battle pass where you could additionally earn currency, later grew into something that featured all kinds of things, including celebrity cameos, TV show cameos, cameos from other games. So when you go into a Fortnite lobby, everyone is just some different looking thing.
Yeah, and to be fair, it works for Fortnite. But the fact that it works for one game doesn't automatically mean it would work for anything. We watched this exact scenario play out at the podcast with Jeff Kaplan. People of like the higher ups at the time, I know they're now have been released from Blizzard. At the time, the higher-ups actually told him, you need Overwatch to make this amount of money, and we're gonna give you plenty of people to work on a game, and you need to release a cash up with skins in it, with like overpriced skins, because they want it to be Fortnite. And Jeff called it out. He said, Overwatch wasn't that type of game. And he was right. Overwatch 2 was a disaster. It was so bad that Marvel Rivals absolutely cooked them on every single front, and they had to turn back the clock, make it Overwatch, and release 5 new characters all at once because they were in the trenches, man. Like, they were fighting. And now, as far as I heard, Overwatch was doing pretty great. Every time they change something from Overwatch 2 and they go back, they make more money and more people play the game.
There's no rhyme or reason, no harmony, but for a game like Fortnite, this is fine. It's a battle royale. You're in, you're out. It's not that deep. I don't think anybody really cares about Fortnite lore or keeps up with it.
Yeah, nobody looking to immerse themselves looking like John Wick.
Unless they're like 6 or 7 years old. And to me, that's what a lot of World of Warcraft looks like now. I think transmog was a good idea at its conception, but also with all of the quirky cosmetics and things that don't really fit Warcraft in its original sense, cities and hubs can now look a little bit like a Fortnite lobby, just with all of the flashy mounts, new races, and everything else in between. I think Dragonflight was the next major Disney-esque blow to Warcraft, something that really pushed it over the edge into a more immature fantasy setting. People often misunderstand why there is still such a great appreciation for Warcraft in its earliest iterations, or World of Warcraft from vanilla to about Wrath. But it was just that no matter where you went, even if people were wearing mismatched gear, as you do while you're leveling, you looked like you belonged in this world. Old World of Warcraft is so loved by that side of the community because it's a game that has more than just gameplay going for it. You have gameplay at the center of everything, of course, but beside that you have lore, compelling storytelling, a sense of scale when it comes to the world, adventure, a unique identity and aesthetic, and of course the overall added bonus of nostalgia. You really cannot compete with nostalgia.
No, for me it's not nostalgia. As you already know, I said it so many times, I'm not nostalgia bound to World of Warcraft. I came in Warlords of Draenor because this was the current expansion. Whenever I got my first credit card, my parents refused to buy me anything online, and we were poor, so, we were. I'm kind of still am, I'm not gonna lie. But, I digress, right? I got my first credit card whenever Draenor was the current expansion. That's why I came into World of Warcraft during Draenor. Obviously, I hated it. I played all throughout BFA, ended up quitting at BFA, returned for Classic re-release for the first time, believe it or not, and it was glorious. I played it from a completely fresh perspective of someone who didn't know anything about World of Warcraft save for retail, and I had the best time of my life. So the nostalgia argument died the moment Classic Plus re-released.
For retail WoW, it feels like
it's simply not true
gameplay, because the only good things I ever hear about retail WoW is only ever just related to gameplay. I know a lot of classic versus retail discourse is around the difficulty level of the game. Some classic players say retail is too easy, and retail players argue that it's not. And to be fair, I actually can believe that retail WoW would be quite a bit more difficult. Early WoW was pretty simple if you think about it, and unless you're
Classic WoW ain't difficult, and I'm a classic Andy all down to the mirror of my bones. Classic isn't difficult. Retail is. Retail rating is 10 times more fun, Mythic Plus is 10 times more fun, but that is pretty much it. Retail offers nothing else over Classic, and that's why I won't play it.
playing hardcore, it's not really that hard to get through the game. It takes a longer time, sure, and I think maybe certain parts of the game are harder than they would be in retail, but overall, when it comes to even the end game, I do think retail probably does have more challenging elements to it. I have been told that I only dislike retail WoW because I'm just not good enough to play it, and here's what I'll tell you. I just don't even have an incentive to try. I don't want to try to be good at it. It just doesn't look like the kind of game that I want to play. A lot of it's just too smooth and polished, and it really feels disconnected from its roots. And to me,
yeah, but how can they feel good about themselves if they don't call you bad at the game? Like, that is the same thing that I get. Like, it's literally the same group of people regurgitating the same, like, trash argument point they have for decades. They're like, oh, you don't like retail? You must be bad. Brother, I played competitive Deadlock and competitive Marvel Rivals on the top 0 point something %. And I have videos on this very channel to prove it. World of Warcraft is easy to me. I'm sorry, but it is. Retail isn't difficult. I mean, it is difficult, but it's not as difficult, and it will never be as difficult as those games on the, like, 0.1%. It'll never happen. So you coming here and telling me that I'm just sucking at the game and that's why I don't like it, it's simply false. I look for difficulty. That's why I play Souls-like games my entire life. It's not about difficulty. The game just sucks balls.
those are the things that are important. And in talking about this and in making videos like this, I have found an entire community of players like me that find value in the exact same things, and for the exact same reasons they cannot or they do not play retail WoW. I don't know what's going on in the lore anymore, and you know what? Nobody does. This was a major discussion in the community recently. Nobody has any idea what's going on. They've written themselves into a corner.
Yeah.
We're probably gonna get like a ton of—
You know what's funny? Blizzard has no idea what they're doing too. Blizzard are the reverse of Nikado Avocado. They're 2 steps behind.
of retcons or time travel or something, just like Mortal Kombat. The best thing that they've done recently seems to be housing. Everybody loved housing, and I'll be honest, I look at it and based on the kind of games that I play, I would probably interact with this and enjoy it quite a lot myself, but it's just still not enough of an incentive for me to want to come back to the game overall. There is such an unfortunate stigma around people who prefer classic WoW literally just for the way it looks. Do you know how many times I have been called a chud gamer for talking about this? What do you want me to say? The chuds
Say
yearn
yes.
for storytelling. They yearn
Flex
for
on them
lore,
bitches.
for gritty, dark fantasy with some whimsy here and there. A simpler time when the game didn't feel so confusing and silly. But let me tell you something right now, I have the solution. No, it is not to play Classic WoW. Those servers have a bunch of issues. We'll wait for Classic Plus. I'll keep my mind open. The solution, ladies and gentlemen, is to reject corporate slop and embrace tradition. If you are
Yes.
watching this video, then I am telling you right now to go and install Warcraft 3 Reforged and go back to playing a real game. Not just
No, because it will give Blizzard money. You shouldn't. Just go watch a video about it or something. Or ask your friend, ask your 40-plus-year-old balding neighbor for his old CD. Maybe just do that instead.
the campaign, but really play Warcraft 3 PvP. Go watch a grubby video, go watch Happy play in a tournament, go learn a build order, and just get in the game. It has to be reforged, so we cannot escape all of the corporate slop, but you can toggle classic graphics and immerse yourself in a real, brutal, gritty Warcraft as God intended. Oh, but you like decorating your house in retail World of Warcraft? Go build a base. Like a man. or a woman, some burrows or a ziggurat,
Oh.
whatever you're into. Go play a real game that still holds true to the roots of one of the greatest game franchises of all time. And then 1v1 me on the ladder, if you aren't chicken. But on a serious note,
Goddamn.
I maintain that everybody should be able to just play whatever they want, even if it is retail WoW. There's clearly still an audience for it. And even that audience, by the way, already has a lot to say about the writing and various other issues with the game. But in keeping with our previous discussions around the aesthetics of Warcraft and just the overall legendary vibes that we got from it that just weren't recreated anywhere else ever, this was an important video for me to make. And that's why I made it. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this little rant on the Disneyification of Warcraft. If you did, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe. I really appreciate it. As always, huge shout out to my channel members. Thank you guys so much.
Insane. Okay, seems to be the end of the video. Insanely good video. I think it's her best. I honestly think she cooked here. She's slowly starting to become one of the best WoW content creator that I've seen popping off recently. So, yeah, I'm gonna leave you guys a link. Obviously, make sure to click and give her a like and a sub. Like, she's truly incredible. I will say this. I want to make sure that you guys understand that the peoples who are constantly manufacturing this garbage on a daily basis are currently so scared. And I'll tell you why. Because they know that the tide is turning in our favor and more games that we love are popping off. And they're deathly afraid of retaliation. They're afraid that we cast them out of the biggest companies they've embedded themselves into. And I need to make sure you guys understand this. Once we're back on top, we need to create an infrastructure where these type of people would never be able to consolidate power ever again. Because once they are in charge, they would ruin everything that you knew and loved and demonize you in the process, ostracize you in the process, turn you into a pariah, will create false narrative to make you seem like the villain. And we should never let that slide. We have been silenced long enough. More and more people are raising their heads and actually speaking against this, and I couldn't be more thankful for it.